The first warning was not a transmission. It was the silence where a transmission should have been. In the council chamber, orbit of Vera, the air always carried a faint mineral tang from the gravlattice beneath the floor. It made my breathing frill itch, a polite irritation I had learned to hide. I folded my lower hands over the upper, keeping my finger spines tucked. The chamber lights ran in slow amber bands along the curved ceiling, designed to soothe species that feared open sky. The banding was old. So was the council. The console in front of me flashed again. Attendance, absent, attendance, absent, attendance, absent, Earth. Again. Councillor Rathen clicked his mandibles, a sound like dry leaves crushed between stones. He let it carry. He wanted everyone to hear. For the 15th summit in succession, he said, voice amplified through the hall's translator field, the third planet of Sol refuses representation. Refuses. He always used that word, as if the universe hinged on their pride. I watched the other delegates shift. The Jalim Envi's dorsal plates shivered, catching the light like wet slate. The Sorin trio leaned closer to one another, their shared breathing forming a soft chorus through their gill slits. The chamber smelled briefly of anxiety, a sharp, copper-sweet exhalation from half a dozen species, including mine. I am Velk, attaché of the Kelari Concord, advisory seat 46, third ring. Not important enough to steer decisions, important enough to be blamed when they fail. My people are amphibious, patient, and allergic to sudden heroics. We build our cities half in warm water, half in humid air, and we teach our young that survival is a matter of anticipating currents. The current in this chamber had turned. The chair being of the council, Elder Presider Yull, rose slowly from the central dais. Yull's body was a column of woven biofiber and luminous nodes, a species that had traded bones for braided living cable long before anyone here had discovered metal. Yull's voice was gentle, like soft rain on stone. The matter of Sol 3 will be tabled, Yull said. We have more urgent concerns. And then the hollow above the dais changed. Deep space, the outer lanes, a frontier station, deep drift station, appeared as a simple ring of habitat and docking arms hanging in a sea of black. The image was a council feed official cleaned, and still I could see the scorch marks. The station had been attacked, not by pirates, not by raiders, not by the petty predators that nipped at the edges of civilization, by something that did not answer hails. The feed cut to a slow-motion capture, a wedge-shaped vessel sliding out of the dark like a knife under cloth. No transponder, no broadcast, just a bloom of pale radiation and then a lance of energy that sheared through the station's outer arm. Debris spun away like glitter in a current. The chamber's translator field picked up involuntary noises, a hiss from the Jalim, a low moan from the Sorin, someone's claws scraping against the stone floor. Rathen leaned forward. The unknown aggressor has struck 3 outposts in 2 cycles, he said, and now deep drift, the lane to the inner worlds is compromised. My frill tightened. Deep drift station was on the route to my home region, not directly, but close enough that the ripples would reach us. Elder Presider Yull turned slightly, luminous nodes pulsing. We will convene a war council. The chamber murmured. War council meant unified action. Unified action meant old treaties, and old treaties meant old grudges dragged into light. And it meant, inevitably, someone would say it. Rathen said it. We must compel Sol 3 to attend, he declared. Their system lies near the affected lanes. Their resources are uncounted. Their absence is no longer tolerable. Several delegates vibrated agreement. The Jalim envoy flicked a tongue in approval. A Sorin head nodded, then the other 2 followed, a delayed echo. I tasted bitterness in my mouth. I did not like humans. I had never met a human. But the stories circulated in the lower rings of the council, where people like me sat and listened. Deathworlders. A planet of harsh weather, unstable tectonics, predatory fauna, and a biosphere that tried to digest you while you slept. Humans had crawled out of it and somehow not crawled back. They had been offered an observer status, a gentle path into the council. They had ignored it. 15 summits, 15 absences, And now, with an unknown enemy carving the frontier, the Council wanted to pull Earth into the net. I leaned toward my superior, Coordinator Sen, whose skin always smelled faintly of warm algae, a comforting scent. "Compel," I whispered. Sen's eyes, wide and glossy, did not blink. "They are afraid," Sen whispered back. "And when the high seats are afraid, they reach for the nearest tool." "Earth is not a tool," I said before I could stop myself. Sen's mouth tightened. "Neither are you." The chair being's nodes flared once. "A delegation will be dispatched to Sol," Yul said, "to deliver summons and offer terms. Advisory Seat 46 will accompany, for neutral counsel." My frill went cold. That was us, that was me. Rathan's mandibles clicked again, satisfied. He wanted a neutral witness so the council could claim good faith. He wanted someone small enough to sacrifice if the humans reacted badly. The hollow above the dais shifted to show a map, a bright spiral of lanes, the council worlds clustered like pearls, and the Sol system marked as a pale point on the edge. And somewhere beyond, in the dark lanes, the unknown aggressor moved again. The question that curled like a hook in my mind was simple. Why had Earth skipped every meeting? And what would they do when the galaxy finally came knocking? Transit Corridor, Council Cruiser Gentle Edicts. The Gentle Edict was a lie in metal form. Council ships were built to be symbols, not weapons. Smooth hulls, diplomatic colors, wide windows in public corridors to remind everyone that civilized beings did not hide behind armor. The Gentle Edict had halls that smelled of polished resin and recycled air, and the lighting shifted subtly to match the circadian rhythms of the majority species aboard. For Kelari, it was too dry. For Rathan's kind, it was too dim. For everyone, it was too calm. Because in the secure briefing room, the recordings from Deep Drift Station played again and again and again, each time with a new overlay. Vector analysis, radiation signature, probability cones, none of it made the unknown aggressor familiar. Commander Ishan of the Council Defense Flotilla stood at the table, a bipedal avian with thin legs and a crest that rose when stressed. Ishan's feathers were a nervous gray. "Their propulsion is not lane-based," Ishan said, tapping the hollow. "They appear to slip between points without using our established gates." Rathan's eyes narrowed. "Impossible." Ishan's beak clicked. "Unlikely," Ishan corrected, the sort of correction that was technically polite and emotionally sharp. And yet. On the opposite side of the room sat Councillor Rathan, high seat of the Varen Compact, appointed to lead this delegation. He wore ceremonial armor that hissed softly as it adjusted to his joints. He wanted the humans to see strength. He wanted them to feel small. And beside him, like a shadow given a chair, sat Dr. Seller of the Sorin Triad, our cultural specialist. Seller's species operated as groups of 3 bodies sharing one mind through pheromonal exchange. Seller had only brought 1 body aboard the Gentle Edict, which meant Seller was incomplete and therefore irritable. Seller's eyes were large and dark, with a reflective film that made them look always wet. I sat between Sen and the ship's human relations liaison, and irony. Liaison Tor was a Keth, a species that had once warred with humans during the early border disputes and now spoke of them like a childhood nightmare. Tor's skin was scaled but pale, the color of old bone. Tor kept glancing at me as if I might suddenly sprout fangs. I did not. I kept my hands folded and listened. Ishan brought up the casualty report. The numbers were clean, as if cleanliness made loss easier to swallow. Deep Drift Station had evacuated most of its population, but not all. A few hundred lives from 6 species were gone. The unknown aggressor had not boarded. It had not taken supplies. It had simply cut, tested, moved on. "Probe strikes," Seller murmured. Seller's voice had a faint burbling underlayer from the gills. Predatory curiosity. Rathan's mandibles flexed. "Then we must show teeth." Sen inhaled slowly, the Kelari equivalent of a sigh, drawing moisture from a small humidifier at our seat. "We are going to Earth," Sen said, "to summon a species we have ignored, dismissed, and called monsters behind closed doors. Perhaps we should consider diplomacy before teeth." Rathan turned toward Sen. Your people have never fought a real war, he said. Sen's eyes did not move. And yours have never survived a real winter, Sen replied softly. For a moment the room went very still. Even Ishan stopped tapping the hollow. Rathan looked at me then, as if noticing the smaller fish in the pool. Attaché Velk, Rathan said, you have studied the Soul dossier. I had. Everyone in the lower ring studied it because it was one of the few things that made the council feel alive. A mysterious absent species, a death world, rumors of violence and creativity. Yes, I said. Explain, Rathan demanded. Why do they not attend? Is it arrogance, fear, primitive stubbornness? I tasted the mineral tang of the room's air, and the faint bitter scent of Tor's stress. The dossier suggests, I said carefully, that humans have a cultural aversion to what they call mandatory gatherings. They consider compelled attendance a form of coercion. Rathan's mandibles clicked in disbelief. They were invited. And then summoned, I said, and then warned. The tone escalated. Sella leaned forward. They do not value hierarchy, Sella said, as if describing a disease. They value consent, I corrected. Tor let out a short hiss. They value winning. Sen's hand, damp and cool, touched my forearm under the table, a grounding contact. Regardless, Sen said, Earth is near the compromised lanes, if they have information. Rathan cut Sen off with a sharp hand gesture. If they have information, they have withheld it. Ishan cleared their throat, feathers rustling. We have also withheld information, Ishan said, voice quiet. We have not shared our full lane maps with Sol. We have not offered them gate access. We have kept them at arm's lengths. Rathan's gaze sharpened, because they are dangerous. Because we assumed they were, Ishan corrected again. Rathan stood. The armor plates along his shoulders shifted with a soft metallic whisper. We will arrive in Sol with authority, he said. We will deliver the summons, we will demand aid, and if they refuse. He paused, letting the implication hang like a blade. My frill fluttered with involuntary discomfort. The unknown aggressor was out there, carving up stations, slipping between points without gates, and we were about to pick a fight with the only species in the quadrant that had never asked to be included. I wondered, not for the first time, what it meant to be absent by choice, and what it meant to arrive by force. Sol System, Approach Vector, Council Cruiser Gentle Edict. The Sol Star was a pale white burn against the forward viewport, bright enough that the ship's filters tinted it a soft blue. The human homeworld hung ahead, Earth, a swirl of ocean and cloud, so saturated with water it looked almost unreal. From orbit, I could see lightning flashes in storm belts like tiny nervous twitches. The planet's reflected light made the corridor surfaces glow faintly, a cold sheen. Tor stood beside me at the viewport, claws folded behind their back. Too much water, Tor muttered. My people would call it a paradise, I said. Tor's eyes remained fixed on the planet. Paradise is quiet, Tor said. That thing is loud. I listened. Through the hull, through the ship's systems, I could not hear the planet. But I imagined it anyway. Wind, waves, thunder, the constant friction of a living biosphere. A death world did not have to be a barren rock. It could be a place so alive it tried to kill you simply by existing. The Gentle Edict sent its arrival ping. No reply. It sent another, using the Council's standard greeting. No reply. Rathan ordered a more forceful hail laced with authority codes. This time a response came. The comms speaker crackled, then stabilized into a voice. It was translated into the Council tongue, but the rhythm underneath remained human, clipped, measured, as if the speaker chose each word like a component in a machine. Unidentified vessel in Sol orbit, the voice said. You are within restricted space. State purpose and stand by for inspection. Rathan's mandibles flexed. This is Council Cruiser Gentle Edict, Rathan said, voice booming. We are a diplomatic delegation of the Galactic Council. We request immediate audience with Earth's recognized representative authority. There was a pause. I could almost feel the human on the other end, weighing the words. "We do not recognize your council's authority here," the human voice said. "You have been told, repeatedly, that we do not attend your assemblies. You are welcome to transmit your message. You are not welcome to orbit without coordination." Rathan leaned toward the comms. "Earth is hereby summoned under clause." The human cut in. "No." One syllable, flat, like a door closing. Rathan's eyes narrowed. "If you continue to refuse, the council will interpret your absence as hostile intent." Another pause. Then the human voice returned, and something in the tone shifted. Still calm but now tired, like someone who had heard threats their whole life and had learned the precise weight of each one. "You have a problem," the human said. "You didn't come here for a meeting. You came here because you're afraid, so speak plainly. What's happening out there?" Ishan's crest lifted. Sen's hand tightened on my arm. Rathan hesitated, and in that hesitation, I saw the first crack. Rathan wanted to posture, but the unknown aggressor had carved deep drift. Fear was a current stronger than pride. Rathan said, "An unknown hostile force has attacked council stations. We require your system's cooperation and resources. We require." "You require," the human repeated, and there was a soft sound like a breath through teeth. "You still speak like you own the room." Sella leaned toward the comms mic, voice slick with irritation. "Humans," Sella said, "your refusal to participate in galactic governance has consequences. You cannot isolate yourselves and then demand." "We haven't demanded anything," the human said, sharper now. "You are in our orbit, you are threatening us, and you are calling it governance." Another silence, longer this time. Then, "You want to talk," the human said. "Fine, you will descend to Lunar Station Trinity, you will disarm, you will accept escort, you will speak with our representative." Rathan's mandibles clicked in outrage. "We will not submit to inspection in our own ship." "Then leave," the human said. Tor's claws scraped the viewport frame. Sen exhaled slowly. Rathan's pride swelled in the room, a visible thing, but Ishan stepped forward, feathers smoothing with effort. "We accept," Ishan said before Rathan could object. "We will comply for the sake of diplomacy." Rathan stared at Ishan like a predator deciding whether to strike. Then Rathan snapped, "Very well, but make it known, this is a concession of goodwill." The human voice returned, and for the first time I heard something like humor, dry as old bone. "Call it whatever helps you sleep." The comms cut. We began descent toward the moon. Through the viewport, Earth's curve filled the sky, and the moon hung beside it like a pale scar. A human station glimmered in orbit, not beautiful in the council way, but dense, practical, armored. No wide windows, no ceremonial lines. It looked like it had been built by beings who expected accidents, attacks, and failure, and had decided to keep living anyway. My frill fluttered again. We were entering a place that did not care about our symbols, and that, I realized, was the first thing humans violated. The council assumed that everyone wanted to be seen as civilized. Humans, apparently, wanted to survive. Lunar Station Trinity, Docking Collar 7. The airlock smelled of disinfectant and metal, sharp enough to sting my frill. Gravity shifted subtly as we crossed the threshold. The moon's pull was weaker than Vera's, and my body felt lighter, as if my bones had forgotten their own weight. Human security met us in the docking corridor. They wore no ornate armor. Their suits were matte, segmented with magnetic boots that clicked softly on the deck. Their helmets were open, and I saw faces, soft-skinned, eyes forward, expressions controlled. Their gaze moved constantly, measuring distances, exit points, our hands. Deathworlder eyes, I thought, predator eyes. But then I noticed the small things. One human's fingers tapped a rhythm against their thigh like nervousness. Another human's jaw clenched when Rathan's escort drones floated too close. Their breathing was audible, not through gills or vents, but through noses and mouths, warm air moving in and out like a simple machine. They were not monsters. They were mammals in a hard shell of discipline. A tall human stepped forward. Their hair was cropped close, their uniform plain. Their eyes were a dark brown like wet soil. When they spoke, the translator field caught the words and laid them over the sound, but I could still hear the human language underneath, rapid and consonant-heavy. "Council delegation," the human said. "I am Captain Mara Ellis, Station Trinity Operations and Diplomatic Interface." Mara Ellis, readable, the council would approve, though they would still complain about the lack of titles. Rathan lifted his chin. "I am Councillor Rathan," he said. "We demand." Mara raised one hand, palm out, not a threat, a stop signal. "You will follow procedure," Mara said, calm as a sealed hatch. "We will scan your ship for weapons discharge systems. You will keep your drones at a distance. You will not bring armed escorts into our habitat ring. You will meet with Ambassador Noah Reyes." Ambassador. So humans did have titles. They just used them like tools, not ornaments. Rathan's mandibles clicked. "We will not be treated as criminals." Mara's gaze did not waver. "Then don't act like invaders in our orbit," Mara said. Sella's eyes narrowed. "Your tone is unacceptable." Mara's mouth tightened, not quite a smile. "Your presence is unexpected," Mara said. "We can both be uncomfortable." Tor hissed softly, almost approving. Sen's hand brushed my shoulder, a Kelari gesture of caution. We moved through the corridor. Trinity Station was built like a layered shell. Corridors curved gently, surfaces textured for grip. The lighting was white and constant, no soothing amber waves. Vents hummed with a low mechanical drone. Every few meters I saw signs, symbols and words, marking emergency routes, airlock protocols, radiation shelters. Humans lived as if disaster was a scheduled guest. As we passed a transparent panel, I glimpsed a maintenance bay. Humans in stained coveralls worked on a massive ring of machinery, sparks flashing blue-white as they welded. The smell of hot metals seeped through the seal, and with it, the faint scent of oil. Mara noticed my glance. "Life support gyros," Mara said. "We keep redundant sets." "Redundant," I repeated. Mara looked at me then, truly looked, not just scanned. "You do?" Mara asked. I hesitated. "We do," I said, though the council ships did not. Redundancy was expensive. Elegance was prized. Mara nodded as if filing the answer away. We entered a conference room, no grand hall, no dais. Just a table bolted to the deck, chairs of varying sizes, humidity and temperature controls in each seat. The room smelled faintly of citrus and plastic, a strange combination that made my frill twitch. And there, waiting at the table, was Ambassador Noah Reyes. He was smaller than I expected, not frail, but compact. His hair was dark with streaks of gray. His eyes were the same earth brown as Mara's but softer. He wore no armor, only a simple suit with a small insignia, a stylized planet and a line that might have been an orbit. He stood when we entered, hands open at his sides. "Councillor Rathan," Noah said. His voice was warm but weary at the edges. "Coordinator Sen Dr. Sella, Liaison Tor, Attaché Velk." He named me. My frill flushed a faint green, an involuntary sign of surprise. "You know me," I said before protocol could stop me. Noah's mouth curved slightly. "I read," he said. "It's a habit." Rathan did not sit. "Ambassador Reyes," Rathan said, "Earth has violated interstellar norms by refusing representation. You are hereby." Noah raised a hand, mirroring Mara's earlier gesture. "No," Noah said, gently but firmly. "We are not doing that dance." Rathan's mandibles flared. Noah continued, voice steady. "You didn't come here to punish us. You came because something is breaking, and your council can't fix it alone. So let's skip the theater. Tell me what hit Deep Drift." Ishan brought up the holo, the wedge ship, the lance, the debris. Noah watched in silence. His eyes narrowed slightly, not in fear but in focus. When the clip ended, Noah exhaled slowly. "How many hits?" he asked. "3 stations, 1 convoy," Ishan said, "and now Deep Drift." Noah nodded once, as if confirming a suspicion. "And you still don't know what they are?" "Unknown," Rathan spat. Noah looked at Rathan. Do you know why we skipped your meetings? Noah asked. Rathan's mandibles clicked. Because you are arrogant. Noah's gaze softened, and for a moment I saw something like sadness. Because your council's first act toward us was to classify us as a risk, Noah said. Your second act was to offer us observer status with restrictions. Your third act was to send inspectors without consent. You never asked what we wanted. You told us what you were willing to allow. Sellers' voice was sharp. That is governance. Noah's eyes flicked to Seller. That is control, Noah said, and humans have a long memory of control. Tor shifted, scales rasping softly. You are dangerous, Tor said. Everyone knows. Noah leaned forward, hands resting on the table. We are capable, Noah corrected. Danger is what happens when capability meets contempt. The room went quiet. Noah tapped the hollow, bringing up the wedge ship again. This, Noah said, is not a pirate, not a raider, and not a council rival. This is a probe. Seller's gills flared. You said that earlier, Seller said. Predatory curiosity. Noah shook his head. Not predatory, Noah said. Evaluative, like a hand touching a wall to find the weak point. I felt my stomach tighten. Noah looked at Ishan. Did it respond to any transmissions? He asked. None, Ishan said. Noah nodded. Then it's not here to negotiate, Noah said. It's here to measure. Rathan leaned forward, finally engaging with something beyond pride. Measure for what? Noah's gaze lifted, meeting Rathan's directly. For invasion, Noah said. The word landed in the room like a dropped tool, heavy, loud in the silence. Rathan's mandibles stilled, Sen's breathing frill fluttered, Tor's claws flexed. Noah continued, voice calm, almost gentle. You came here with a summons, Noah said. I'm going to give you something else. He gestured, and a door at the side of the room opened. A human in an engineer's uniform entered, carrying a data slate. Their hands were stained with grease. Their hair was tied back messily. Their eyes were bright, not with fear, but with relentless focus. Captain Ellis, the engineer said, then nodded to Noah. Ambassador. Noah nodded. This is Chief Engineer Jun Park, Noah said. Jun, please explain to our guests what we've been tracking. Jun placed the slate on the table and activated a hollow. It showed the lane map, like the Council S, but with additional lines, curving fractal paths that did not align with gates. My frill tightened. Those are not lanes, I said. Jun's mouth twitched. We know, Jun said. We call them folds. Rathan hissed. Impossible. Jun looked at Rathan, expression flat. We don't care what you call impossible, Jun said. We care what shows up on sensors. Jun tapped the hollow again, zooming in on the attack sites. They're not using your gates, Jun said. They're punching microfolds through local space-time. It's sloppy. It leaves a signature. We've been watching it for months. Ishan's crest rose. Months, Ishan repeated. Noah's voice was quiet. We tried to tell you, Noah said. We sent warnings. Your council filtered them as unauthorized lane data. Rathan's mandibles opened and closed, as if chewing on words. Why did you not escalate? Rathan demanded. Why did you not come to the council? Noah's gaze hardened. Because the last time we came to your council, you tried to confiscate our drive research under safety protocols, Noah said. And because we are tired of being treated like a weapon you can lock away until you need it. Jun's fingers drummed on the table. The sound was steady, like a heartbeat. We kept tracking anyway, Jun said. Because if something's coming, it doesn't matter if the neighbors like you. A quiet moment followed, a breather in the tension, and in that moment I realized something that made my skin prickle. Humans had been watching the dark for months, not because the council asked, because they felt responsible anyway. That was the second assumption humans violated. The council assumed responsibility was assigned by hierarchy. Humans, it seemed, assigned it to themselves. Noah looked at all of us. You have an unknown force testing your frontier, Noah said. We have evidence, it's a prelude to something bigger. You want Earth's help. Fine. Rathan's mandibles flexed. At last. Noah raised a finger. On one condition, Noah said. No summons, no coercion, no confiscation. We will act as an allied sovereign, not as subordinate. Rathan's eyes narrowed. The council does not bargain with absentees. Noah's voice dropped, still calm but with iron beneath it. Then the council can die alone, Noah said. Silence. In that silence I felt fear, yes, but also unexpectedly relief. Because for the first time someone in this room spoke like the universe was real. Ishan swallowed, crest flattening. Councillor Rathan, Ishan said softly, we cannot afford pride. Rathan's mandibles clicked, slower now. His gaze flicked to the hollow, to the fold lines, to the attack sites creeping inward. Then Rathan said, very well. The word sounded like it hurt him. Noah nodded once, as if accepting not surrender, but reality. Good, Noah said. Then we need to move fast. Jun leaned forward. The next strike will be closer, Jun said. And if we're right, the probe isn't alone. Sella's eyes gleamed wetly. And if you're wrong, Sella asked. Jun's fingers stopped drumming. Then we'll still be ready, Jun said. I watched Jun park, grease-stained hands, bright eyes, calm voice, a defining trait I realized not of bravado but of engineering stubbornness. And somewhere in me the arc began to shift. Fear, yes, but now confusion, because monsters did not sound like this. Council Chamber, Orbit of Vera, Live Link. The Council refused to come to Earth. So Earth came to the Council. Or rather, Earth spoke into the Council Chamber through a secure link, with the Presider's reluctant consent. The chamber's air was thicker than Trinity's, scented with mineral tang and the faint floral oils used by high seats to mark territory. The hollow above the dais showed Ambassador Noah Reyes seated at a plain table. Behind him, a human flag symbol and the curved bulkhead of Trinity Station. Noah looked small in the vastness of the council hall. Rathan had insisted on that framing, the camera angle chosen to emphasize the council's grandeur. Noah did not seem to care. You have been warned, Noah said, voice steady through the translator field. You have an incoming force using fold propulsion. It is probing your infrastructure. If you do not coordinate defense, your gates will be bypassed, and your stations will be isolated and cut. A ripple of murmurs. Councillor Rathan stood at his podium, mandibles set. Earth speaks as if equal, Rathan said to the chamber, not to Noah. Earth demands autonomy while withholding participation. Noah's eyes narrowed slightly. We're not demanding, Noah said. We're offering, and yes, as equals. Elder Presider Yul's nodes pulsed gently. Earth, Yul said, if you have knowledge of this threat, why did you not attend the summits and present it through proper channels? Noah's gaze held steady. Because your proper channels treat us like contraband, Noah said. We sent data, you ignored it. We are done waiting for permission to prevent catastrophe. A sibilant laugh came from the high seats. Councillor Vesser of the Jalim, whose species wore their arrogance like polished stone, leaned forward. Humans, Vesser said, tongue flicking, you speak of catastrophe as if you understand it. You are one system, a minor power, your ships are crude, your biology is fragile. What could you possibly contribute against a force that slips through space itself? Noah's expression did not change. We can contribute work, Noah said. We can contribute stubbornness, and we can contribute something your council has forgotten. Vesser's dorsal plates flared. And what is that? Noah's voice was quiet. We can contribute refusal, Noah said. Refusal to be harvested. The chamber fell into uneasy silence. I was not in the chamber physically. I was still on Trinity Station, watching through a smaller feed with Sen, Ishan and Jun. But I remembered the mineral tang, the amber bands, the way the council liked to pretend the universe was a debate. Now the debate had teeth. Elder Presider Yul's nodes pulsed again. What do you propose? Yul asked. Jun leaned toward Noah's mic, speaking softly. Noah nodded. Noah said. We propose a joint defense initiative. We will share Fold's signature data. We will help retrofit key stations with detection arrays. And we will deploy a human task force to the frontier to intercept the probes. Rathan's mandibles clicked, and in return. Noah's eyes were steady. In return, you stop treating us like a disease, Noah said, and you stop trying to own what we build. Vesa hissed, you presume much. Noah's mouth curved in a thin line. You presume you'll survive without help, Noah said. The murmurs rose again. Some delegates bristled. Others leaned forward hungry for any advantage. Then on the chamber feed an alarm rune flashed, not in Trinity, in Vera. A frontier alert routed into the council hall. Another station had been hit. Closer this time. The council chamber's amber bands flickered as the lighting system adjusted to the sudden spike in stress hormones and pheromones. The air filled with the sharp scent of fear. Elder Presida Yul's nodes flared brighter. War Council, Yul said, voice tight. Rathan turned toward Noah's hollow. For the first time, Rathan's pride cracked wide enough to show something raw. Earth, Rathan said, dispatch your task force. Noah nodded once. We already have, Noah said. Vesa's plate stilled. Already, Vesa repeated. Noah's gaze did not waver. We don't wait for votes when lives are on the line, Noah said. That line struck the chamber like a slap, and I felt my confusion deepen into something else. Insight, perhaps. Because the council's first obstacle was political, pride, hierarchy, the need to control. Humans had just stepped around it like it was a chair in the way. Forward staging point, deep drift debris field. The first human warship I saw was not graceful. It was ugly in a way that made my frill tighten and my heart race. We arrived aboard a council escort frigate, assigned to observe. Rathan had insisted on a council presence to ensure coordination. Noah had agreed, but only if the council ship stayed out of the human formation. When we dropped from gate into the debris field near Deep Drift's remains, my sensors filled with static from shattered metal and lingering radiation. And then the human ships appeared. Not one, dozens. They slid out of Fold not through gates but through space like water opening around a stone. Each arrival left a brief shimmer, a distortion that made the stars warp for a heartbeat. Their hulls were matte black and slate gray, no bright diplomatic colors, no banners. Their profiles were angular, layered with armor plates and external radiator fins. They looked like machines built for function, not symbolism. And they formed up with terrifying precision. Jun's voice came over our comms calm. Welcome to the line, Jun said. Stay within the marked corridor, don't cross the exclusion zones. Our point defense is automated. Automated, my frill fluttered. Rathan's mandibles clicked in disdain. Crude intimidation, Rathan muttered. Ishan beside him watched the human formation with feathers flattened. That is not intimidation, Ishan whispered. That is preparation. Our frigate drifted closer. The human destroyer passed beneath us, close enough that I could see the texture of its hull, pitted, scarred, patched. It carried the marks of previous impacts, repaired and returned to service. The ship's name was painted in simple letters along the side in human script, then translated beneath, steadfast. Another past, quiet promise. Another hold fast, names like vows. The council named ships after virtues too, but theirs were ceremonial, aspirational. These felt personal. Like reminders scratched onto metal so you wouldn't forget why you were there. Our comms pinged with a channel request. Captain Mara Ellis appeared on hollow, helmet now closed, her voice slightly filtered. Council observer ship, Mara said. You are in a live combat zone. You will follow our safety protocols. Rathan bristled. We are not your subordinates. Mara's gaze, visible through her visor, was steady. In this zone you are, Mara said, because we are the ones who map the folds, and we are the ones who will catch what comes through them. Argue later, survive now. Rathan's mandibles opened, but no words came, perhaps because the sensor board lit up with a new contact, a wedge ship. It slid into existence at the edge of the debris field, exactly where Jun's fold map predicted. Its hull shimmered with pale radiation. It did not broadcast. It did not hesitate. It accelerated toward the nearest human ship. The human formation did not break. A destroyer holdfast pivoted, interposing itself. The wedge fired its lance. A beam of pale energy stabbed toward holdfast, and for a breath I thought I would witness the ship split. Instead, a ripple of light blossomed around holdfast's hull. A shield, not the Council's elegant grav screen but something rougher, layered. The beam struck, flared and bent. The ship rocked but held. Jun's voice remained calm. Impact confirmed, Jun said. Shield layer 3 absorbing. Return fire authorized. The human ships answered with a storm of kinetic projectiles. Not beams, not lances. Physical rounds accelerated to insane speeds, streaking like invisible fists through vacuum. The wedge ship's hull sparked as rounds hit, punching small flashes across its surface. It tried to fold away, but something snapped. Space around it shimmered, then locked like a net tightening. The wedge ship stalled. Jun's voice sharpened slightly. Fold anchor engaged, Jun said. It can't run. My frill went cold. Fold anchor. Humans had built a device that could pin a ship in place by gripping the very method it used to move. The wedge ship fired again, a frantic lance. Holdfast's shield flared, weakened, and then failed. The beam cut through an outer radiator fin, sending shards spinning. Mara's voice cut in. Damage on Holdfast, Mara said. All ships keep pressure, no kill shot yet. Rathan snapped, no kill shot, it is hostile. Mara's eyes flicked toward him, even in the chaos. We need it intact, Mara said. We need to know where it came from. The wedge ship shuddered under impacts, its hull finally cracking. A panel peeled away, exposing something inside, an inner frame that was not metal, but something like grown crystal, threaded with veins of light. Sella, observing via link from the Council ship, whispered, "It is biostructural." The wedge ship's lights flickered. Then, in a sudden burst, it emitted a pulse, not a weapon, a signal. A tight beam transmission that shot into the dark lanes like a scream. Jun's fingers, visible on the hollow, moved fast over controls. It pinged, Jun said. It sent home a packet. Ishan's crest rose. To where? Jun's mouth was grim. Not sure yet, Jun said, but it just told its friends we're here. The wedge ship went dark. The human ships held formation, weapons still trained, as if expecting it to rise again. Silence settled over the debris field, broken only by the faint hiss of our frigate's life support. Rathan's mandibles clicked, but this time the sound was not disdain. It was unease, because the second obstacle had arrived, tactical escalation. The probe was not alone, and now it had called home. Medical Bay, human destroyer steadfast. Humans did something that did not make sense. After the battle, they did not celebrate, they did not posture, they did not broadcast victory. They pulled their damaged ship back into formation, then sent a small craft toward the drifting wedge wreck. A boarding team. Mara insisted that one Council observer accompany, for transparency. Rathan refused, calling it beneath him. Sen refused, saying our bodies were not suited for vacuum operations. Ishan was needed on the Council frigate, so the task fell absurdly to me. I found myself in a human airlock, strapped into a pressure suit modified hastily for Kelari physiology. Humidifier packs hissed inside the helmet to keep my frill from drying out. The suit smelled of rubber and metal, and faintly, human sweat from whoever had worn it last. The taste of recycled air made my mouth bitter. Jun stood beside me, wearing a suit of their own, less bulky, more familiar. Through the helmet glass, Jun's eyes were bright, focused. You good? Jun asked. I am contained, I said. Jun's mouth twitched. That's one way to say it, Jun said. Mara's voice came over the comms. Boarding team, remember, Mara said. We don't know what's inside. Assume traps. Assume radiation. Assume it can wake up. A human marine, bulky in armor, held up a small charm tied to their suit, a strip of fabric with symbols. Another tapped 2 fingers to it before sealing their helmet. A superstition, I thought, irrational, and yet it was familiar. My people placed warm stones in hatchways for luck, Perhaps all species carried irrational rules into danger. We launched. The shuttle crossed the debris field, stars steady beyond. The wedge wreck hung like a dead insect, its crystal-veined interior exposed. We latched on. The humans moved with practiced efficiency. Magnetic boots clicked, tools unfolded. A cutter hissed softly as it bit through a seam. I followed, heavier in the weak gravity, my tail awkward in the suit's constraints. Inside the wreck, the lighting was dim, a ghostly glow from the crystal veins. The air when we breached the inner compartment was not air at all, thin, acrid, filled with spores of some kind that made my frill itch even through the suit filters. The interior walls were not smooth metal. They were textured like bone, ridged, with a faint, damp sheen, as if the ship had been alive once or still was. One Marine muttered, "Creepy." Jun's voice was steady. "Bioship," Jun said, "but not like any we've seen." We reached what might have been a control core, a cluster of crystalline growths arranged around a central void. In the void floated a device, metallic, incongruent, like a parasite embedded in flesh. Jun leaned closer, scanner humming. "That's the transmitter," Jun said. "It's not organic, it's a beacon." "Built by someone else," I said. Jun nodded. "This ship isn't the main force," Jun said. "It's a scout grown for a purpose, disposable." A tremor ran through the wreck, not from impact, from within. The crystal veins pulsed once, brightening. The Marines raised weapons. Mara's voice snapped in our ears. "Status." Jun's breathing quickened slightly. "It's reacting," Jun said, "like it has a failsafe." The crystal pulsed again, and the central void began to fill with light. A self-destruct, I thought. Jun moved without hesitation. They reached into a pouch and pulled out a device, a compact anchor coil, the same technology that had pinned the wedge ship. Jun slapped it onto the beacon. Space around the device shimmered faintly, like heat haze. The light in the core flickered, then stabilized. The trembling stopped. Jun exhaled slowly. "Fold anchor," Jun said. "It can't trigger its jump destruction if it can't fold." One Marine's voice was low with awe. "You just told it no," the Marine said. Jun's eyes flicked up. "That's engineering," Jun said. "Systems try to do a thing. You stop the thing." Simple, brutal, effective. We extracted the beacon. Back on Steadfast in the medical bay, I watched humans treat injured crew from Holdfast. They moved fast, efficient, voices low. Blood was present, yes, but they did not linger on it. They focused on breath, pulse, sealing wounds. One medic, face spattered with someone else's life, spoke softly to a wounded engineer. "Stay with me," the medic said. "You don't get to quit before I do." The wounded engineer laughed weakly. "That's a stupid rule." The medic's voice was fierce. "It works." A rule humans followed that seemed irrational but worked. Do not leave your people behind. I had heard rumors of a human rescue ethic, but seeing it was different. It was not a policy. It was instinct sharpened into doctrine. Jun approached, holding the extracted beacon in a sealed case. Their hands shook slightly now that the immediate danger had passed. "Exhaustion, not fear. We need to analyze this fast," Jun said. "Before it calls again." I nodded, frill fluttering. "What if it already did?" I asked. Jun's eyes were dark, focused. "Then we build a bigger net," Jun said. In that moment the third obstacle began to form, not tactical, not political, but scientific and ethical. Because the beacon was not just a signal. It was a door. And someone on the other side had just learned that humans could slam doors shut. Research Bay, Trinity Station. The beacon was colder than it should have been. Even in a sealed containment field, even under layers of insulation, the metal seemed to drink heat. The room around it felt subtly chilled, and my frill tightened from the dry cold. Jun and a team of human scientists worked around it. Instruments hummed. Screens flickered with spectral readouts. The air smelled of ozone and sterilized plastic. Noah stood at the edge, hands clasped behind his back, watching with the stillness of someone who had learned that impatience did not make machines faster. Rathan paced, armor plates whispering. "You are wasting time," Rathan snapped. "We should strike preemptively, send your ships into the dark lanes. Burn whatever nest produced these scouts. Jun did not look up. We don't know where, Jun said, and we don't burn things we don't understand. Vesa, the Jalim counselor, had arrived via gate to Trinity, insisting on oversight. Vesa's presence filled the room with a faint scent of musk and arrogance. Humans fear decisive action, Vesa said. Noah's eyes flicked to Vesa. Humans fear stupid action, Noah said. Vesa hissed. Your insolence. Noah cut in, voice still calm. If you want to insult us, do it after we keep you alive, Noah said. Jun's screen chimed. Got something, Jun said. The room leaned in even rather. Jun pulled up a signal map. The beacon's last transmission was not a simple ping. It was a compressed packet containing coordinates, not to a system, to a region of space with no lanes, no gates, no council presence, a dead zone. They're staging out there, Jun said, in the dark between maps. Ishan, connecting remotely, murmured, uncharted void. Sen's skin paled, a Kelari sign of dread. No one lives there, Sen said. Jun's voice was quiet. Someone does, Jun said, and they just learned we can intercept their scouts. Noah leaned forward. How long until they arrive? Noah asked. Jun tapped a projection, fold signatures, energy build-up probabilities. If they move now, Jun said, days, maybe less. Folds aren't limited by gates. They can drop anywhere. Rathan's mandibles clicked. Then we must fortify the gates. Jun shook their head. They don't need your gates, Jun said. They'll bypass them, they'll hit your worlds directly. The room went quiet. Vesa's plates trembled. Impossible, Vesa whispered, but there was no conviction. Noah straightened. Then we change the battlefield, Noah said. Rathan scoffed. With what? Your crude ships. Noah's gaze hardened. With an idea, Noah said. Jun, tell them about the lattice. Jun hesitated. Their fingers hovered over the console as if touching something sacred. We haven't used it, Jun said. Noah's voice was gentle. We might have to, Noah said. Vesa's eyes narrowed. What is this? Vesa demanded. Jun exhaled. Humans built something, Jun said, because we didn't like how gates made us dependent on council infrastructure. Rathan's mandibles flared. So you built illegal gates. Jun's mouth twitched. Not gates, Jun said. A field. Jun brought up a simulation. A web of anchored points, not in fixed structures but in ships. A distributed lattice that could, if activated, dampen fold formation in a region of space. Not blocking movement entirely, but making uncontrolled folds unstable, forcing ships to either use gates or risk tearing themselves apart. A denial field. A way to make the enemy play by the Council's rules, or at least not play at all. Ishan's crest rose even through the hollow. That would require massive energy, Ishan said. Jun nodded. We can do it, Jun said, but it will cost. How much? Sen asked, voice tight. Jun's eyes were flat. Ships, Jun said. Anchors have to be carried. The lattice nodes are physical. If the enemy pushes hard enough, they'll target the anchors. Rathan's mandibles clicked. Quick. You propose sacrificing ships. Noah's voice was quiet. I propose preventing genocide, Noah said. Vesa hissed. Genocide, Vesa repeated, as if tasting the word. Noah looked at Vesa. Your council thinks in treaties, Noah said. The thing in the dark thinks in harvest. If we fail, it will not negotiate. It will take your worlds apart to see what's inside. The room's air felt colder. An ethical obstacle tightened. Could humans justify deploying a field that would trap ships, change space, sacrifice their own? Jun's hands clenched. We built the lattice as a deterrent, Jun said. A terrifying invention we promised ourselves we would never point at anyone unless we had to. Rathan's voice was bitter. And now you will point it. Noah's eyes were steady. With restraint, Noah said, and with warning. Vesa laughed softly, the sound like scales sliding. Humans and their warnings, Vesa said, always moralizing. Noah's voice sharpened. It's not moralizing, Noah said. It's consent. Even our enemies get the chance to stop before we break them. That line lodged in me like a thorn, even enemies. My people would not do that. The council would not do that. The council preferred surprise, leverage, humans preferred choice, and yet they were building a net to catch something monstrous. Fear still lived in me, but now it was braided with something like respect. Elder Presider Yull sent a directive. The council would convene an emergency tribunal to decide whether Earth's lattice deployment would be sanctioned. A tribunal, while the enemy moved. Political obstacle again, tightening like a noose. Noah looked at Jun. How long to deploy without their sanction? Noah asked. Jun's jaw clenched. We can launch in hours, Jun said. Full lattice in 2 days if we push crews hard. Noah nodded. Then we launch, Noah said. Rathan's mandibles flared. Without approval. Noah's voice was calm. With or without, Noah said. I would rather be condemned alive than praised dead. Tribunal feed, council chamber, orbit of Vera. The tribunal was theater, but theater with knives. The council chamber's amber bands pulsed faster, reacting to the stress of hundreds of delegates. The air smelled of sharp oils, fear pheromones, and the mineral tang of old stone. On the central dais, Elder Presider Yull presided, nodes glowing brighter than usual. On one side, Councillor Rathan and Councillor Vessa argued for immediate control of human assets. On the other, a smaller cluster, Ishan, a few lowering delegates, Sen, argued for granting Earth autonomy in exchange for action. Noah Rays appeared via Hollow again, seated at the same plane table. Jun stood behind him, arms folded, eyes tired. Vessa spoke first. Humans, Vessa hissed, you propose to alter space itself with an untested device. You propose to deploy warships without council command. You propose to endanger trade lanes and civilian travel. This is reckless. Noah's voice was calm. Your lanes are already endangered, Noah said. Your civilians are already dying. Rathan leaned forward. The council will accept your assistance, Rathan said. Under council oversight, you will surrender control of this lattice technology. You will allow council engineers to operate it. Jun's laugh was short, humorless. Absolutely not, Jun said. The chamber murmured, outraged at the bluntness. Elder Presider Yull's voice was gentle, but firm. Chief Engineer Jun Park, Yull said, you are not recognized as a council speaker. Jun leaned forward, eyes bright with fatigue and something fiercer. I don't care, Jun said. We're past recognition. You want our tech, you want our ships, then treat us like allies, not assets. Vessa's plates flared. Deathworlder arrogance, Vessa spat. Noah's eyes narrowed. You keep calling us deathworlders like it's an insult, Noah said. It's just a fact. We grew up where the ground moves, and the sky throws lightning, and the ocean can swallow cities. We learned early that the universe doesn't care about your titles. He paused, letting the words settle. Then he said, and we learned something else. The chamber quieted, drawn by the shift. Noah's voice dropped, steady, and for the first time it carried the weight of something older than diplomacy. We learned that if you wait for permission to save someone, Noah said, you have already decided they were optional. Silence, even Vessa stilled. Noah continued. We will deploy the lattice, Noah said. We will warn your civilian lanes to reroute. We will coordinate with any ships willing to follow our safety protocols. If your council wants to sanction us, do it. If it wants to condemn us, do it. Noah leaned closer to the hollow feed, eyes fixed on the chamber. But you don't get to stop us, Noah said. That was the diplomatic reversal. Humans were winning without firing first in the council hall, not by charm, by moral conviction backed by capability. Elder Presider Yull's nodes pulsed rapidly. If Earth proceeds without sanction, Yull said, the council may classify Sol 3 as. Noah's voice cut through, calm and sharp. Classify us however you want, Noah said. Just remember who stood between you and the dark. The tribunal dissolved into argument, and while they argued, human ships launched. Deep space, lattice deployment corridor. They came in numbers that made my sensory glands flood with awe and dread. Not a dozen ships, not a fleet, 1,000. The human task force did not arrive as a single dramatic moment. It arrived as a steady, relentless stream of fold flickers across the void, each one a warship slipping into position. Frigates, destroyers, cruisers, carriers with drone bays like open jaws. Each ship carried a lattice node, a device that looked like a skeletal ring of metal and ceramic, bristling with emitters. They formed a line across a region of space that on council maps had been blank, the dark between lanes. The human ships lit it with purposeful geometry. Our council frigate hovered at the edge of the formation, observation only. Rathan stood in the command blister, mandibles tight, watching a species he had dismissed assemble a wall. Ishan whispered, 1,000 warships. Sen's skin was pale, but their eyes were fixed, fascinated. They built this in secret, Sen murmured. I tasted ozone faintly through the ship's filters, as if the lattice nodes already charged the air of space itself. Jun's voice came over the shared channel, steady, exhausted. All nodes, confirm anchor lock, Jun said. Phase 1 in 30 minutes. Repeat, Phase 1 in 30. Mara Ellis's voice cut in. All ships, remember your safety lines, Mara said. If you drift out of pattern, you will be cut off. Don't be heroes. One human captain replied, voice rough, too late. Quiet laughter rippled through the channel, brief human, a release of tension. Rathan looked at me. This is insanity, he said. I surprised myself by answering, it is planning. Rathan's mandibles clicked. You defend them now. My frill fluttered. I thought of the medic's voice. You don't get to quit before I do. I thought of Noah's line, if you wait for permission to save someone, you have already decided they were optional. I observe, I said. And I learned. Rathan's gaze narrowed, but he said nothing. The lattice nodes began to glow, not visible light exactly, but a distortion, a subtle shimmering in the starfield like heat haze across a desert. My sensors registered a pressure on local spacetime, a gentle squeeze. Phase 1, the human line became a net, and then from beyond the net space rippled, a fold opening, then another, then dozens. Contacts bloomed on the sensor board like a sudden infestation. The unknown force had arrived. Not wedges this time, larger ships, bulbous, asymmetrical, their hulls a mix of grown crystal and dark metal. They slid into existence and immediately began to maneuver, as if confused by resistance. Jun's voice sharpened. They're hitting turbulence, Jun said. Lattice is working. The enemy ships tried to fold again, short hops, evasions. Some succeeded, flickering a few kilometers. Others tore. One ship's fold attempt resulted in a violent distortion, its hull buckling inward. It did not explode, not in flame, but in a silent implosion, as if space itself had bitten it. The human channel went quiet for a heartbeat. Then Mara's voice, do not celebrate, Mara said. That is what happens when you force physics. They will adapt. And they did. The enemy ships stopped trying to fold. They began to move conventionally, accelerating toward the lattice line with brute thrust. They were coming to break the anchors. The human line held, and in that moment the galaxy's O began to form in my mind, not as a single revelation yet, but as a dawning shape. Humans had not come to the council's meetings. They had been building. They had been preparing, not to conquer, to endure. Battle line, lattice corridor, hour 3. Space combat is often described as silent, but that is a lie told by those who have never sat in a ship's command blister, with alarms screaming and hull stress groaning through the deck plates. Our council frigate trembled as shockwaves from distant impacts rippled through sensor arrays. The air smelled faintly of overheated circuitry and recycled sweat. Lights flickered. Gravity stuttered for a breath when our stabilizers compensated. Ahead, human warships exchanged fire with the incoming force. The enemy's weapons were lances and clouds of charged particles, pale and beautiful like auroras. They struck human shields, flaring into halos. Human weapons were kinetic storms and tight beam lasers used not as main guns, but as guidance, carving targeting paths through the chaos. A human cruiser, Quiet Promise took a direct hit. Its shield flared, failed, and the lance burned into its side, carving a glowing trench. The ship rolled, venting atmosphere in a glittering spray, and then, instead of retreating, Quiet Promise moved forward, placing itself between the enemy and a lattice anchor ship that was struggling to maintain pattern. Rathan's mandibles clicked. "Why?" he demanded. Ishan whispered, feathers flattened. "They're shielding the node." "It is a machine," Rathan snapped. "A device, expendable." I heard Jun's earlier words. Anchors are physical, they'll target them. Quiet Promise took another hit. Its hull glowed red along the wound. Its voice came over comms, strained but steady. "Anchor ship, keep your line," the captain said. "We've got you." The anchor ship replied, voice trembling. "Quiet Promise, you're bleeding air." The captain's reply was almost casual. "Yeah," they said, "I noticed." Then softer, "Don't drift." The enemy ships pushed harder. They formed spearhead clusters, ramming the line with sheer mass, trying to collide with lattice nodes. Some enemy ships were destroyed by point defense. Others got through. One slammed into a human frigate carrying an anchor. Both ships tumbled, locked together, spinning. Jun's voice snapped. "Node 32 is drifting," Jun said. "If it breaks pattern, we lose phase stability." Mara's voice was tight. "Who's closest?" A human destroyer, Steadfast, answered. "We are," Mara said. "We are moving." Our sensors tracked Steadfast accelerating toward the collision. It fired grappling tethers, magnetic clamps, trying to pull the drifting node back into alignment. Enemy fire raked Steadfast. Its shield flared. A warning klaxon echoed through our frigate as we watched. Rathan hissed. "They will lose that ship." Mara's voice came over the channel again, calmer than the situation deserved. "Jun," Mara said, "if we can't pull it, we cut it." Jun's reply was immediate. "No," Jun said. "If we cut it, the net tears, we lose the whole field." Mara's voice softened slightly. "Then give me another option." A pause, just a breath. Then Jun said, "You can weld it." Rathan barked a laugh. "Weld in vacuum, under fire, absurd." Jun's tone was flat. "It's Tuesday," Jun said. Steadfast moved alongside the tangled ships. Its drone bay opened, releasing small maintenance drones, spider-like machines that darted toward the collision, carrying welding arcs. Under fire in the middle of a battle line, humans repaired their own net. Sparks flashed in vacuum, brief blue-white stars. The welded joint held. Node 32 stabilized. The lattice shimmer strengthened. Enemy fold attempts became even more dangerous. And the enemy realized, finally, that this was not just a line. It was a trap. The enemy ships shifted tactics. They began targeting human carriers, trying to cripple drone swarms. They launched boarding pods, organic seed-like capsules that latched onto hulls, burrowing. On the human channel, a voice shouted, "We have borders." And then I heard something that made my frill flush cold. No arrays, not on a warship but on Trinity, came on the command net. "All ships," Noah said, "remember Rule 6. "Rule 6, Mara's voice replied, tense. "Confirmed." I looked at Jun's hollow feed. Jun's eyes flicked toward me, as if realizing I did not know. Jun said quietly, "Humans have a set of standing rules for war." "Rules," I repeated. Jun nodded. "Rules to keep us from becoming what we can become," Jun said. Noah's voice continued on the net. "Rule 6, if you can end it without erasing them, you try," Noah said. "We are not here to punish. We are here to stop." Vesa, monitoring from a council ship, hissed in disbelief. "They are sentimental," Vesa spat, but I heard it differently. Restraint, terrifying competence used responsibly. And then the human reveal hit, fully formed, like a wave cresting over my head. Humans were not absent from the council because they were weak or arrogant. They were absent because they refused to place their survival, their inventions, and their ethics under a bureaucracy that would weaponize them without consent. And yet, when the galaxy was threatened, they arrived anyway, with 1,000 warships and rules. That was the galaxy's O. Not just fear, not just awe, but the sudden understanding that humanity's true weapon was not their guns, it was their decision to be accountable to themselves. The enemy pressed harder, and the cost began to rise. Battle line, lattice corridor, hour 6. The enemy sent something through the folds that the lattice could not fully choke, a mass, a core ship. It emerged at the edge of the field, enormous, its hull a dark crescent wrapped in crystal veins. It did not accelerate like the others, it simply unfolded as if space made room for it out of respect. Sensors screamed. Its energy output spiked beyond anything the probes had shown. Jun's voice went very quiet. "That's not a scout," Jun said. Mara's reply was grim. "That's the hand," Mara said. "Not the finger." The core ship fired once, not a lance, a pulse, a wave of force that rippled through the lattice, making the shimmer stutter. Several human nodes flickered. One went dark. Node 17 collapsed. The net shivered, unstable. Enemy ships surged toward the gap. Jun's hands flew over controls. "Phase stability dropping," Jun said. "If we lose 2 more nodes, the field collapses and they fold past us." Rathan's mandibles clicked rapidly. "Then retreat," Rathan said. "Fall back to the gates, defend inner worlds." Noah's voice came on the channel tight. "If we retreat, they bypass gates and hit worlds," Noah said. "There is no second line." Mara's voice was steady. "We hold," Mara said. Rathan snapped. "You will sacrifice your fleet for alien worlds that refused you." Mara's reply was short. "Yes," Mara said. "That word stunned me more than any weapon. Yes, not because the Council deserved it, because lives were lives." The core ship fired again. Another pulse. Node 21 flickered, then stabilized, but its anchor ship reported hull breaches. Jun's voice sharpened. "We need to neutralize that core ship," Jun said. "It's disrupting the lattice." Rathan's mandibles flared. "Then destroy it." Jun hesitated. "It's not just a ship," Jun said. "It's generating the fold field. If it dies wrong, it could tear a hole. A scientific obstacle, now lethal. Kill it and you might break space." Noah's voice was quiet. "Jun, options." Jun swallowed, eyes bright. "We can overload the lattice locally," Jun said. "Create a controlled collapse around the core ship. Trap it in a pocket of warp space." Ishan's crest rose. "A pocket," Ishan repeated. "A prison made of physics." Jun nodded. "It would isolate it," Jun said, "but the node ships in that region would be gone." Silence. The cost sharpened into focus. A sacrifice play, non-cliché because it was not one hero, but a calculated loss of ships to save worlds. Mara's voice was steady. "How many nodes?" Mara asked. Jun's reply was soft. 30, Jun said. "Maybe 40, depends on drift." Rathan barked. "Madness." Noah's voice was low. "How many worlds if we do?" Noah asked. Jun did not hesitate. "All of them," Jun said. "Eventually." Mara inhaled. "Do it," Mara said. Rathan shouted, "You cannot decide that." Noah's voice cut through, calm and sharp. "We can," Noah said, "because we built it, because we're the ones who will bleed. And because your council is still debating ownership, while the universe is knocking." The core ship fired again. Node 23 went dark. Jun's voice tightened. "We are out of time." Mara's voice was quiet. "All ships in Sector Delta," Mara said, "prepare for lattice overload. This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill." Voices responded, one after another. Human accents varied, tones steady. "Copy." "Understood." "We are ready." "Tell my crew, I love them." A pause, then another voice, rough with emotion but controlled. "We don't leave our people behind. We don't leave this line behind." Jun's hands moved. The lattice shimmer in Sector Delta brightened, intensifying until the stars behind it warped like reflections in disturbed water. Space groaned in my senses, a vibration that made my frill ache. The core ship tried to fold away. It couldn't. The net tightened. Then, with a soundless flash, the sector collapsed inward. Not an explosion, but an implosion of geometry. The core ship vanished into a knot of warp space, and with it dozens of human anchor ships. The enemy ships near it were dragged, crushed, torn. The lattice line shuddered but held. Phase stability rose again, the gap sealed. For a heartbeat the battle went quiet, as if the universe itself needed a breath. On our council frigate, Rathan stood frozen, mandibles slack. Sen's skin was pale, eyes glossy with moisture. "They chose," Sen whispered. I felt something heavy settle in my chest. Grief even for ships that were not mine. Mara's voice came over the channel, softer now. "Sector Delta, report," Mara said. No response. Silence. Then Jun's voice, barely audible. "They're gone," Jun said. Noah's voice was steady, but I heard the strain beneath. "Hold the line," Noah said. "Make it mean something." The battle resumed, but the enemy's momentum had broken. Without the core ship's pulses, their fold turbulence worsened. More of them tore themselves trying to escape. Eventually, the surviving enemy ships retreated, limping, conventional thrust, dragging them away from the lattice net. Humans did not chase. Mara's voice was quiet. "Let them run," Mara said. "We wanted them to learn. We wanted them to tell whoever sent them that the galaxy is not easy prey." Vesa hissed over the council channel. "You let them go." Noah replied, voice cold. "Yes," Noah said. "So the next one comes with words instead of claws." And there, in that moment, the twist that reframed earlier scenes settled into place. Earth had skipped every meeting not out of apathy, but because they were preparing for something the Council could not imagine, a universe where governance was not enough, where survival required independent capability and ethical restraint. They had been building 1,000 warships, not to threaten the Council, but to stand a line the Council could not. After Action Bay, Trinity Station. The room smelled of burnt insulation and antiseptic. Human crew moved through corridors with slow heaviness, exhaustion in every step. The lighting was dimmer than usual, as if the station itself respected grief. I sat in a quiet alcove outside the command center, my suit unsealed, frill drinking in humid air from a portable pack. My hands trembled slightly. Kelari are not built for this kind of stress. Our bodies prefer long problems, not sudden cliffs. Jun sat nearby, head in hands, grease still under fingernails despite repeated scrubbing. Noah stood at a viewport, staring at the moon's pale curve. Mara entered, helmet under one arm. Her face was drawn, eyes red-rimmed but steady. She looked at Noah. "Delta is confirmed lost," Mara said. 37 ships. Some crews might have survived in the pocket, but we can't reach them, not without tearing the lattice. Noah closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them, his gaze was hard and wet at the same time. "We don't tear it," Noah said. "Not now." Jun's voice was raw. "We left them," Jun said. Mara's jaw clenched. "We held the line," Mara said. "We saved worlds." Jun looked up, eyes bright with anger and grief. "And if they're alive in there?" Jun demanded. Noah's voice was quiet. "Then we owe them a way out," Noah said. "Later, when it won't kill everyone." A moral debate, short, sharp, human, the rescue ethic colliding with the reality of physics. I realized I was holding my breath. I exhaled slowly, frill fluttering. Noah turned toward me. "Velk," Noah said. I startled. "Yes." Noah's gaze was gentle. "You've been watching us," Noah said. "You've seen what we did, what we lost." I nodded. Noah's voice softened. "Tell your council," Noah said. "Tell them we didn't do this for approval. We did it because we couldn't live with ourselves if we didn't." Rathan entered then, armor scraped and dented, mandibles tight. He looked smaller somehow, as if the universe had pressed on him and left a mark. "Ambassador," Rathan said. Noah faced him. Rathan's mandibles clicked once slow. "The council thanks you," Rathan said, the words tasting bitter to him. Noah's eyes narrowed slightly. "Is that all?" Noah asked. Rathan hesitated. Then, in a voice lower than I had ever heard, Rathan said, I was wrong. Silence, Rathan continued, mandibles trembling. I thought your absence was arrogance, Rathan said. I thought your world made you savage. I thought, if you were given power, you would use it without restraint. Noah's gaze did not soften. And now, Noah asked. Rathan's mandibles clicked, slow like stones settling. Now I think, Rathan said, that you are terrifying precisely because you choose restraint. Jun let out a shaky breath that might have been a laugh. Vessa's voice came over the comms from the council ship, sharp. Counselor Rathan, Vessa snapped, do not debase yourself. Rathan turned his head slightly toward the speaker. Silence, Rathan said. Vessa hissed in outrage. Rathan looked back at Noah. The council will convene again, Rathan said, to decide Earth's status, to decide reparations, to decide. Noah cut in, voice tired. Decide later, Noah said. Right now we need to know what we just poked. Jun straightened. The enemy retreated, Jun said. But they didn't leave. Our sensors still see fold turbulence in the dead zone. Something big is still there. Ishan's voice came through faint. They are watching. Noah nodded slowly. Good, Noah said. Let them. Mara looked at Noah. We have to repair, Mara said. We have to rotate crews. We're running on fumes. Noah's voice was gentle. We will, Noah said, and then we will send a message. Rathan's mandibles tightened. A threat. Noah shook his head. An invitation, Noah said. We will tell them we can fight, we can hold. But we would rather talk. Vessa's voice, still on comms, was dripping contempt. Talk to monsters, Vessa spat. Unthinkable. Noah's gaze lifted, and when he spoke, his voice carried a quiet fury. You keep calling us monsters, Noah said. Maybe you should ask why monsters built rules. Silence on the channel. In that silence my internal arc completed another turn. Fear had been my first reaction to humans. Confusion followed, as their calm competence contradicted the rumors. Now, insight and respect, laced with terror, yes, because capability always carries shadow, but above all gratitude, because they had bled for worlds that had never invited them to sit at the table, and they had done it without demanding worship, only recognition of autonomy. Council Chamber, Orbit of Vera, Aftermath Session. The council chamber smelled different now. Less floral oil, more fear, stale and lingering. The amber bands along the ceiling were dimmer, as if the chamber itself had grown tired of pretending. Elder Presider Yul addressed the assembly. The unknown force has been repelled from the inner lanes, Yul said, due in large part to the actions of Sol 3. Murmurs, Vessa rose, plates flaring. Sol 3 acted without sanction, Vessa hissed. Sol 3 deployed an untested weapon field that damaged trade routes and destroyed ships. Sol 3 is a danger to us all. Rathan rose slowly, armor whispering. His mandibles were set, but his eyes were different, less certain. Sol 3 saved us, Rathan said, Vessa hissed. Saved us by endangering us. Rathan's mandibles clicked. Saved us by doing what we would not, Rathan said. Sen spoke next, voice soft but clear. We asked for unity, Sen said. Earth provided it, not through treaties. Through action. A few delegates shifted uncomfortably. The council preferred words. Elder Presider Yul's nodes pulsed gently. The matter before us, Yul said, is Earth's status. Vessa's tongue flicked. Containment, Vessa said. Restrictions, mandatory oversight, confiscation of lattice technology. A chorus of agreement from certain high seats. I rose, surprising even myself. My frill flushed green with the effort of speaking in that hall, where small voices were meant to stay quiet. Presider, I said. Yul's nodes turned toward me. Attaché Velk, Yul said, you may speak. The chamber's eyes turned. The air tasted sharp. I swallowed. We have treated Earth as a weapon we feared, I said. And when the dark came, the weapon chose to protect us. Vessa hissed, sentiment. I pressed on. Humans violated our assumptions, I said. They refused hierarchy, they refused control, they refused to wait, and those refusals saved lives. I looked at Veso. You call them monsters, I said. Monsters do not build nets to catch enemies alive. Monsters do not warn before they break you. Monsters do not sacrifice ships to save strangers. A ripple ran through the chamber. Elder Presider Yul's nodes pulsed. And what do you propose? Yul asked. I inhaled, frill fluttering. Recognition, I said. Full seat, equal status, and a new clause, no technology confiscation without consent. Vesser's plates flared violently. Impossible. Rathan's mandibles clicked once. Necessary, Rathan said. The chamber erupted into argument, but this time the current had shifted. Too many had watched the feeds of 1,000 human warships holding a line. Too many had felt the cold edge of annihilation and the warmth of unexpected defense. Elder Presider Yul raised a limb, nodes flaring, and the chamber quieted. Sol 3 will be offered full membership, Yul said, with autonomy recognized. The Council will draft new protocols for cooperative defense that respect sovereign consent. Vesser hissed, but the sound was drowned by murmurs of reluctant agreement. A vote was taken. It passed. Earth, absent for so long, was now invited not as an observer, not as a subordinate, but as a member. And somewhere in the dark between lanes, the unknown force watched, having learned a lesson. The galaxy was not unguarded. The galaxy had humans. Epilogue, Lunar Station Trinity, Observation Dome. The observation dome was one of the few places on Trinity with a window, and even then it was layered, armored, small. The moon's surface glowed pale beneath, dust plains stretching into shadow. Earth hung beyond, blue and white and impossibly alive. Noah Reyes stood beside me, hands in pockets, posture relaxed in a way that did not match the lines of exhaustion on his face. You spoke well, Noah said. My frill fluttered, embarrassed. I spoke what I saw, I said. Noah nodded. That's rare, Noah said. Most people speak what they want to be true. We stood in silence for a moment. The dome's air was warm and faintly scented with citrus again, a human attempt at comfort. Will the Council keep its promise? I asked. Noah's mouth curved slightly. Some will, Noah said. Some won't, we'll manage. You are not angry, I asked, after how they treated you. Noah's gaze stayed on Earth. I'm tired, Noah said. Anger burns fuel. We need fuel. Jun entered, hair messier than ever, eyes ringed with sleeplessness. They carried a slate and a mug that smelled faintly like roasted bitterness. Jun held up the slate. We got a signal, Jun said. Noah's posture tightened. From the enemy? Noah asked. Jun shook their head. From inside the pocket, Jun said. My frill went cold. Jun's voice was quiet. Sector Delta, Jun said. Someone's alive. Noah closed his eyes for a brief moment, a human gesture that looked like pain and relief braided together. When he opened them, his gaze was fierce. How? Noah asked. Jun's fingers tapped the slate. They're using the warped space as a resonator, Jun said. They can't fold out, but they can modulate the distortion. It's messy, but it's them. Mara Ellis appeared behind Jun, face drawn, eyes bright. We told you we don't leave our people behind, Mara said quietly. Noah looked at both of them. We can't tear the lattice, Noah said. Jun's mouth twitched, half smile, half grimace. We're not going to tear it, Jun said. We're going to engineer a door. A door through warped space. An impossible solution. Noah exhaled, a sound that might have been laughter if it weren't so strained. Of course you are, Noah said. Jun's eyes were bright. It's what we do, Jun said. I looked out at the Earth, at the moon, at the stars beyond. The galaxy had changed, not because the Council voted, not because treaties were signed, because a species that had been underestimated, dismissed, and feared had arrived with 1,000 warships and a set of rules. And because even after sacrificing dozens of ships to hold the line, they were already planning how to rescue those left behind. That was the thread that tugged at the future. The dark between lanes was not empty. The enemy had retreated, but not vanished. And now, humanity had a seat in the council. And a promise to keep. Noah's voice was quiet beside me. Velk, he said. Yes, I asked. Noah's gaze stayed on the stars. Tell your people something, Noah said. What? I asked. Noah's answer was simple, and it sounded like a vow carved into metal. When we show up, Noah said, we show up all the way. Outside, Earth turned slowly, storms flashing like distant thoughts. And somewhere beyond the mapped lanes, something watched the human lattice shimmer in the dark. And reconsidered what it meant to test a world that had learned, long ago, to survive without permission.